Exposing the cost of owning a McLaren
My
P1.
whole life I have dreamt of owning a hypercar, and recently I made that dream come true. When I bought this McLaren P1 there was one thing which I was really worried about. It's a potentially insane cost that come with owning a hypercar. It's £120,000 to replace it. Today I'm going to speak to some of the wealthiest car collectors in the whole of the UK to find out how much it costs to own one of these dream cars. And also later in the video we will find how much it costs to own my McLaren P1. When I think of the world of hypercars, there is one car which stands out, which is truly legendary. It's the
Spaghetti Veyron.
Yes,
when we went hypercar
the
shopping,
Bugatti
this
Veyron.
was in the final three, but there was one reason which put me off buying one of these amazing cars. And
Maintenance.
that was maintenance. So I wanted to speak to a Veyron owner to see if the costs were as bad as everyone made out, and if I had made the right decision buying the P1.
The number plate
over
is
the Bugatti.
crazy.
Right, Andy?
Good to see you, Mark.
Nice to see you again.
All good.
Right, how long have you had it?
So I've had it just over a year and a half now. So yeah,
Happy you bought it?
really happy. I took the plunge out of Senna last year, which I really enjoyed, thoroughly enjoyed. And I thought the whole sort of purpose is to move up in the hypercar range.
Yeah. And we're going to find out if that was a big mistake for Andy. In this video, we're going to explore the running costs of every different hypercar. And later, we will see which car is the most costly to run. And to get that total, we will be looking at a few essential categories: servicing, insurance, maintenance, and any additional costs which could be a flaw in the design. And this will give us a total yearly cost of owning each car. And later in the video, you will see which is the most expensive hypercar to own. So first, let's hear how much it costs to own this simply legendary Bugatti. Service.
Okay, so obviously the whole big picture is that increase in value.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to swallow some costs along the way. So I've had it for just over a year and a half now. It's due a service at the end of this summer. It was serviceable before I bought it. In terms of costings, I know the warranty through Bugatti is going to be somewhere. It's a 2-year service and warranty is about 200k.
£200,000.
Wow.
That's real life. That is what it is to run this sort of car.
200k is an absolute
What
crazy
the
figure. Yes,
hell?
it's for a 2-year pack, but a warranty and service that costs so much money tells me that the Bugatti cars can potentially go wrong. But these huge figures are not unusual when servicing the ultimate cars that manufacturers make. From Bugatti to Conan's eggs, they all have costs that are unavoidable, and these are costs that are not discussed by the salesman when they are trying to sell you the car, and you will understand
Devo,
why.
damn.
Because the numbers we hear about today are insane. In fact, they could be the difference between being able to afford and maintain a hypercar or having to sell it. Because no matter who you are, it's next level expensive. Okay, insurance.
Insurance is pretty good actually. Insurance is pretty good.
But you're only 20.
Lol.
Something like this, again with my perfect driving history, you're looking at somewhere in the region, I think we're about 8k a year.
8,000.
There's people who are going to be watching this who are driving around a Fiesta which are paying that sort of money, so that's a massive risk.
It's a massive risk, but you're insuring a huge value. So that's the key. You know,
Yeah.
Damn.
you've got to make sure on something like this.
No phones at work.
So your insurance company.
So maintenance wise, should we talk about the tyres, because the tyres are a big thing about why I didn't buy one.
Yep.
So tyres?
So tyres are
Damn.
20k for a set of tyres.
What?
So you have to go off to Volsheim and be bonded at the factory.
So you can't like get them fitted anywhere?
$20,000 for
so you have to
tires.
send the wheels somewhere?
The Veyron wheels currently have to go back to the factory.
That's mad.
Yeah,
So
the Veyron
20K
wheels and
for
tires are
tyres.
glued
In terms of
together,
wheels,
that's why.
I've got a really good contact of mine. I bought a spare set of wheels.
Ooh,
The
damn.
wheels alone without the tyres, the spare wheels were circa 100k.
What?
Mind blown. Absolutely mind blown.
Crazy, isn't it? So,
100,000.
if we split the service cost to cover only a year, the wheels are scrapped after 4 sets of tyres, and we can add 20k in brake wear, we are already up to an insane cost to own. Some would say the original true hypercar. So I wanted to find out if there are any more unique horror stories to own.
It's all
a
carbon
Veyron.
fiber,
So we
damn.
spoke to my friend, an expert. He has driven and used a Bugatti Veyron for years.
I heard my ears burn.
Damn.
So, You know a lot of stories about these. You owned one.
Yeah.
Switch.
Yes, the famous switch.
Yeah, show us.
Oh.
So, you see that? Literally. Yeah. That was annoying me.
You must be hard to live.
I know, that was annoying me. So, sent the car in for a service. I said to the head engineer, see that little bit of the switch? Can you fix that for me? It was £9,500.
Whoa!
Plus VAT. Anyway, sent it to a guy, he stripped the door, found the part. Part was off a Volkswagen Transporter. You could only buy them in a group of 5, and they were 89 pence.
That was nearly £9.5 plus VAT.
9.5 grand plus VAT, yeah.
And which a lot of people would have paid.
See, what you have to remember, the average owner of a Bugatti Veyron
Has
32 other cars,
yachts, private
3 boats,
jets.
and
Yep.
2 helicopters.
That's a true story.
Yes, that's fact.
That makes me the poorest Bugatti owner in the UK.
Well, you took the title off me, so thank you very much.
Somebody's got 64 cars for you.
Yep.
Their prices, they
That is
literally just
crazy.
make them up on the spot. So it depends how they feel. If they've had a bad morning, you're paying for it.
So this car's yearly ownership is a minimum of £173,000.
Whew.
Yes, some of these costs are extreme, but some of their
Wow.
customers are the wealthiest in the world. So is it a case of would you pay anything to
God
own the
damn.
ultimate car? But the question is, are these costs justified? We all know if you buy a hypercar at the right time, they can be amazing investments. So let's see if the owner has managed to make or lose money on his Bugatti Veyron.
Okay, I haven't actually broken it down, but yeah.
Well, you've got your wheels,
Yeah, got the wheels.
which is going to increase the value of the car.
That's right. There's obviously
Yep.
the appreciation, hopefully, on the car. I think the other big thing about this particular car is that
It's carbon
enabled me,
fiber.
It's been a ticket to meet some incredible people, incredible events. Obviously, Apollo
Yes.
Capital, we are experts in luxury supercar and hypercar finance, so we've met and done business with some amazing people.
So this could have earned
Damn.
you money as well with this fresh mixing with these.
Bugatti
Exactly,
gives
so
access
build
to
that all
wealthy
in
people.
versus or against that cost of ownership, or
And you've got one of these.
you've got one of these, you enjoy it, etc., etc. I'm hoping that will then break even.
A Veyron a few years ago sat around £1 million, and today they are already at 1.5
Ooh,
million. They are
damn.
continuing to rocket in value. In fact,
Oh my
some of
God.
the rarer special editions are fetching over 5 million.
What?
Because these hypercars do go up in value and
Bro,
are so
that's
collectible,
crazy.
does this mean that the manufacturer can charge any prices? The customers don't argue the inflated running costs, as overall, in the long
Damn.
run, they are making money. Now, talking about Veyrons and the insane cost of owning a Bugatti, a fellow YouTuber
Crazy.
has a crazy experience with owning a Veyron, which definitely
The Hamilton
is not
collection?
cheap. Hi Steve, it's very
Oh,
nice to meet you.
how did I guess it?
I'm doing quite all right. Thanks so much.
This is Steve, the owner of the Hamilton collection. There are plenty of videos of him enjoying these cars to the
Yes,
full.
he rips
And his
the
car
cars.
collection is vast. It definitely earns him a spot at the very top
Ooh,
end of hypercar
my
owners.
God.
With so many expensive cars,
my
he will have
God.
experienced big bills over the years, time and time again. But even he couldn't stomach the cost of owning a Veyron. You've obviously got an insane collection of cars. Can you tell us about that? What sort of headaches?
Oh my God.
If you've got any nightmare stories.
Tons of nightmare stories, many six-figure repairs that we've had to do along the way.
6-figure.
And some of these cars are known to require a lot of money with maintenance, and that's just the way that it kind of is. One of the
Damn.
first one that comes to mind is I bought a Bugatti Veyron. I bought an 06 with about 20,000 miles on it. Any other normal car that's low mileage for a hypercar that's pretty high mileage. But the Veyrons require a lot more maintenance than the Chiron. So
Oh, damn.
I had to replace turbos. I had to replace other stuff. Like the moment that I got it, just everything is constantly breaking. I think a month into it, $50,000 in repairs.
Whoa.
6 months later, there was another $75,000 repair.
Whoa.
Where it was just, I'm like, I can't. It just doesn't make sense because this is going to keep happening. So I only ended up keeping that for about a year, and I sold it.
And that cost you $125,000 for that year.
$125,000, and I think I put 1,000 miles on it. Fortunately, the Chiron that I have is under warranty. That was a big part of the reason why I just worked.
Oh, damn.
Because a repair on that, I think a new engine is $800,000 in the Chiron.
Whoa.
It's actually that expensive.
Okay, that makes sense because
so you
the
don't wanna
engine is
screw
all
that up.
fired
Owning a
up.
Bugatti is maybe the ultimate
Damn.
flex, but it obviously comes with some huge risks. especially
Oh my
if you're
God.
out of manufacturer's warranty. If the wrong part breaks, it could definitely outweigh any inflation in the car's value.
Oh my
As
God.
Steve showed, no matter how wealthy you are, sometimes it's just not worth that worry and stress. But imagine not owning one hypercar, but owning 10. Let's find out how much it actually costs to own an entire hypercar collection. Welcome
Damn.
to the Peg Collection.
Woo, a lot of
Sat in this
Porsches.
room are some of the most incredible hypercars ever made. The
Oh my
Ferrari
God.
Enzo, a car literally named after the founder of Ferrari. A McLaren Senna, made to celebrate one of the best F1 racing drivers ever to live. Chassis number 100 of the Pagani Huayra.
Carbon
This is literally the
fiber.
last car off the production line. And last but not least,
CCX,
one of the
CCR.
first rare cars ever made by the hypercar company no one can pronounce. This collection has some of the best, and I'm excited to know how much these things cost to run. Jeremy, lovely to meet you.
And you too.
This is some spread.
A small snippet.
Really?
Yeah, a small snippet
Damn.
of the Peg collection. 23 cars in total. This is just some that we bought here today.
And all special cars.
All special cars,
Ooh.
yeah, in their own way.
There's a Porsche 918 in the
Interestingly,
background.
Jeremy doesn't own
Or is
these
it?
cars. He is a collection manager. These ultimate cars are so advanced, so special, so unpredictable that many owners have to employ staff to keep them running. As just parking these cars for a long period of time can have catastrophic expensive failures. With my pickup,
Damn.
in fact, we found out if you don't drive it and you don't look after that battery, it could cost £120,000.
God
So in
damn.
theory, employing
That's a
somebody
car
like
right there.
yourself could even be worthwhile if you're stopping some of the damage from some of these cars if they were sat still.
Yeah, correct, indeed. So the more they're used, it just seems the better they become.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, some people seem to buy these cars and tuck them away and think the values are going to go catastrophically up. But the downside is your maintenance charges will go up as well because things will start failing.
This is something I never considered, that owning a collection of hypercars would need you to employ people full-time to safeguard you from even more running costs. What's the total value of the collection?
A rough estimate, I'd say the Peg collection is about £20 million worth.
Wow, that's just amazing. Fair play. And how much is that to insure?
I'd say to insure, it's not something I get involved with, but I'd say to insure it's probably around £200,000.
Damn.
Now that is a huge cost of insurance, but when you consider the number and the calibre of these cars, the insurance company are in fact covering a huge risk. But that's a drop in the ocean to the cost that Jeremy now tells us about. Right, Conan's Egg. Early car as well. Quite an interesting thing.
Yes, indeed, yeah. It's not been in the collection very long. Just to give you an idea, a service cost will probably be around 10,000. Tyres probably 3.5 for full set discs and brake pads.
Not that
I think
bad.
I'd be looking around £10,000. Issues with this car, I can guess, windscreens are very hard to come about.
Or just can't get them.
We've waited sort of 6-7 months for a windscreen, and the same with the brakes.
So
Damn.
in theory, one stone chip on this car could be out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Additional costs to consider, well, this car is now older and well out of warranty. So an engine failure, if it is not cared and nurtured for, could cost well over 100 grand. So we will amortise that in the running costs over 10 years ownership. And over all the cars, we're going to divide the cost of the brake replacement over 4 years. So next, is this a hypercar?
Senna.
or not? Well,
It's a
the running
hypercar.
costs of the Senna are not as bad as the other hypercars, but it still has some very unique, expensive quirks.
An average service cost is about £3,000.
That sounds cheap now.
Damn,
That's quite
yes.
today. How can £3,000 sound like a bargain? But talking these numbers, tyres?
Yes.
Tyres could be a problem with this car. So the last set we purchased were about £3,500. The issue
Not
we've got at the
bad.
moment is actually getting hold of the tyres.
Not bad.
Bespoke for
Damn.
the Senna. and can be really hard to get hold of.
Add that to a 10k a year in brake wear, you have some eye-watering expenses. Additional costs, anything on this specific which sort of like you've had?
So recently we had a crack in the windscreen about halfway up, which I believe is quite a common fault.
That went from just this wheel going slightly lower than the other wheel.
Yeah,
Just that twist.
Yeah, it's just a twist of the chassis, and unfortunately, yeah, the screens are very thin, super thin, and yeah, to replace that it was just under £10,000.
Right, Porsche 918, this was on our list when I bought my P1. So what's the service on something like this?
So I'd say a full service, as in all the fluids and all the filters, I'd say £7,000.
Wow, okay, £7,000. Brakes, pretty special on this car.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using it in anger and a lot of track days, you could be looking at a bill for £60,000 to include brakes, tyres and service costs.
Right, one of the Holy Trinity. So we had the LAF, the P1 and the 918 hybrid batteries.
Yes, can get expensive. So to replace the battery pack on this car, the main hybrid battery pack is £100,000.
Damn.
100.
Just the battery that starts the engine is £6,000, which is just a 12-volt battery on a carbon fibre plate.
Again, we will amortise that over 10 years ownership. So that adds £10,000 per year on the upkeep. The Carrera GT is the 918's older brother. Now, I've been lucky enough to own 2 of these, and here was my last service invoice at £15,000.
Wow.
Ouch. Now, insurance and maintenance is very similar to the 918, but instead of a hybrid battery, it has its own very expensive and common problem. Clutch, notoriously bad on these because they're so small. It has to be driven in a certain way, doesn't it?
This is crazy.
Not an easy car to ride as a manual. The clutch is very, very tricky. They're worse when they're worn. If they're worn, they're really difficult to drive. A clutch replacement, you're looking at about £10,000. But driven incorrectly, you could damage a clutch very quickly in one of these cars.
Do you think if you drove it wrong, in one day you could do the clutch?
Possibly, yeah. It could happen.
On to the final 2 cars, and first up the Ferrari Enzo, worth a staggering £4 million. Let's hope that that value doesn't match the running costs. Just simply stunning.
Yeah, very rare Enzo. Service-wise, again, you're looking at about £5,000 a year to service.
Damn.
It's used quite a lot, this car, in the collection. Main issue with this car is obviously tyres. They're just non-obtainable at the moment.
Well, as in, can't get them.
So what we've had to do with this car is fit slightly different size tyres in a later compound tyre.
Yeah, because that's crazy. So the tyre isn't the perfect size, but you've just got to compromise.
Yeah, correct, yes.
Additional costs, any quirks on owning this so far?
So the Enzo has failed before with the front
This is
lift
crazy.
motor. We got a quote from the dealer that was like £28,500 just to replace this
Whoa.
little electric lift motor.
But imagine that waking up tomorrow and for no reason whatsoever, you've got an extra £28,000 worth of bill. So now finally, the most expensive car.
Pagani.
Just, wow. Pagani Huayra. I'm guessing service your quick fit do this one?
Yeah, so we're lucky with this car. This car has a service plan on it, but at a guess, I'd say a service at a minimum of £15,000.
Yeah, that makes sense. Brakes and discs off the shelf, I'm guessing. Halfords?
Unfortunately not, no. Pagani only bespoke made Brembos for this model of car at £100,000.
£100,000.
Yeah, yeah.
So they made these brakes for this car. A brake company designed it just for this car.
Correct.
Brembo,
We
yes.
will split that into 4 years of use. And because the car is still under warranty, there should be no surprise additional costs. So not only is it 200k just to insure the collection, it's also another 55k in servicing. And although those numbers are massive, just wait until you hear how much the maintenance and additional costs on the entire PEG collection. Additional costs. If we had a bad year, we had a lift go, we had an engine go, we had a few things break, a windscreen, what do you think the cost would be to keep it going?
I think you have to budget at least £300,000 if you have a bad year.
God
So
damn.
maintenance.
Okay, so I think if you're tracking all of them, I'd say you're probably looking at about £275,000.
Wow.
Let's hope you've had a good track day.
Better be a lap record in there somewhere.
And don't hit nothing.
So in all, okay, to
Damn.
own these beautiful, beautiful cars in a collection, what's the overall cost for that year on a bad year?
Okay, I think we've just done some calculations and I think it's around about £820,000.
Ooh.
But, you know, these cars are appreciating assets, you know, and this collection is super rare and hopefully they're only going one way.
Yeah, I agree. Like the caliber of the car that you've got here is absolutely stunning. And hopefully it's going to go up more than that's costed. The yearly cost on these hypercars is scary, and it's got me worried about my own car. So we will find out later in the video exactly what that calculation is for me to run the P1. Now, we spoke to Steve to see if the total car collection has increased in value more than the bills to keep them. So how much do you reckon it costs you to own that collection? So, like, you know, servicing, upkeep, so that's not modifications, that's literally just to keep that lot going.
So important thing to consider is depreciation, right? Because the majority of these cars, some of them will increase in value, but I'm gonna hurt overall when I go to. If I went to sell the cars, I'd probably lose money. So if you take depreciation, I don't know, 1.5 million a year.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty excessive.
So in Steve's
crazy.
case, the collection depreciates a huge figure each and every year. But
Oh my
he does
God.
enjoy the ultimate cars, and for him, he earns money from the millions of views on YouTube. And it's the same case for Andy. Because he owns the hypercar, it brings in business revenue, as the car gets him to mix with some of the high net worth owners who use his company for finance. One car which did surprise me in the PEG collection was the 918. It was more to maintain than I would have thought, especially as it's manufactured by a successful production-based company. So next, we're going to find out what my yearly running costs are on my McLaren P1.
Damn,
and
let's go,
compare it to
finally.
the Porsche to see if I did make the right decision. But first, I now get the chance to finally experience this epic 918. I was passenger to the safest driver that I know.
Right, give me a countdown.
It's really important to look after your hypercar, just like looking after your health. But you can do that with this week's sponsor of the video, Manual.
Go.
They test for low testosterone, and you may be thinking, that's not you.
Damn.
And in fact, 90% of men in the UK remain undiagnosed, and these are the symptoms you can suffer. Luckily, I did my check because it came back I was low on free testosterone. But good news, Manual can do something about that. The 918 is definitely as fast as my McLaren, and it sounds incredible. But as we found out, the brakes are not quite as good. Oh my God!
Oh my
I'll
God.
give you a lot of room there, you know.
We just nearly died. Manual have a solution on
God
low
damn.
testosterone with TRT services. It brings your levels back up to where they should be, and this will increase your quality of life. And you can use my discount code MARK45 for 45% off that initial blood test. Thank you, Manual, for sponsoring this video. What a car! After now
Damn.
experiencing the 918 and using my McLaren P1, there really isn't much between these two cars. They both are incredible.
Oh my
They
God.
both cost similar amounts of money. So the only thing left to separate these
Maintenance.
cars, how much does it cost to run my McLaren P1? Right, now my McLaren P1. Start off, we're going to go with insurance now. This was never going to be good for me,
Ooh.
simply because I struggle to get insured on anything. This car per year is £15,000,
Wow.
which is embarrassing to say because it's such a ridiculous amount
That's
of money.
crazy.
Which I know a lot of you guys are having the same problem with insurance premium, and we are on it. We are having a nightmare with the government, but a new video on that is coming very soon. And even worse, as if it could get any worse. Excess, 50 grand. Ouch.
What? What is that?
And why, like, you know, that's £10,000. The front splitter's 40 grand. So what they don't want you to do is claim for a little knock in the car park, because obviously 50 grand you're just going to go, I'm going to have to swallow that myself, which would be a horrifically bad day. Right, servicing. That little bad boy there, I can't believe I'm saying this. To change the oil and do a service in this car is £9,000.
Oh, damn.
It's my own fault, I bought a hypercar, but better be some special oil. For 9 grand, I'd like it to take them a month. But it's in and out in a day. But really, it should be gone for a very long time. Right, maintenance. Definitely can't see these with these wheels, but the brakes. Now, they explained at McLaren Manchester, to change all the brakes on this car is £60,000.
Bro,
So,
what?
I'm going to divide that into 6 years and pretend that I'm only going to use my brakes in 6 years, which I'm sure is going to be more than that. So basically we're saying £10,000 a
Whoa.
year in brakes. This is getting ridiculous. Jane can't see this. Hypercars are manufactured to the extremes of production materials, using lightweight carbon fibre parts, which if damaged can be horrendously expensive to fix. So I spoke to Freddie to understand the costs of my P1, as like I said, my insurance excess is £50,000. How much is a front bumper?
Oh, okay. All right. Now you're talking. So this is the clamshell from a P1.
So that's in one piece.
That's one piece of carbon. And what's cool is that I can kick mine. Yeah, I can kick mine like that. So it doesn't matter because it's already broken. So
Damn.
is about $120,000, something like that.
Whoa.
The rear clamshell is 130 to 140. Each door is 80,000. So the front bumper, I believe, was something
Look
like
at his reaction.
$30,000. The front window, that is 10,000.
Whoa.
Each of the ones on top are 5. And then the one in the back, that's another 10. So you're about $40,000, which is probably 30,000 pounds in glass alone. There's like everything on this is like super expensive. So, you know, good luck.
Those are some scary parts prices.
God
and like I
damn.
said, if I damage it, £50,000 or less has to come out of my pocket.
God damn.
So I am making some precautions on my car after hearing those extreme costs. Hexis have fitted a PPF windscreen cover to help protect us from our very bad UK roads. And in turn, that will help to reduce my running costs. Are you sure you've done that? Have I been scammed? Can't even tell.
Yeah, that's the point.
To spec Apple CarPlay on a hypercar is over £10,000.
Damn.
But Impulse Watford have come round to fit a module which enables Apple CarPlay on a car made before Apple CarPlay was even invented. Now, hopefully, one click of a button and look at that fully colourful screen. This isn't actually paired to my phone yet, but should we check his photos?
Go on.
See if there's any Friday night wife action. They can retrofit Apple CarPlay to any car, including a hypercar, for less than £1,500. Thanks again to Hexis and Impulse Watford. Their links are in the description. But unfortunately, there are some costs on my P1 which I can't take precautions for. It's just a fingers crossed that they don't break. Right, additional costs, which is very unique to this car. Okay,
The charger.
This here is something that you plug into the car, and when you're not using it, you have to put it on this charger. Now that little lump there, which we found out when we went to
25,000.
Manchester, is £20,000.
20,000, damn.
That there is the price of most people's cars. How is that 20 grand? But it is. Since we did the last video and explained all about this ridiculously priced
God
lump,
damn.
people have said that they can actually recondition that for 10 grand, which is still absolutely mental, but half mental than it was last week. And the biggest potential additional cost is the bit which is right here, which is the hybrid battery.
Damn.
Now, it doesn't really get any good news here. It's £120,000 to replace it. There is no other options. People have tried, people have failed. If it breaks, you're done for. You may as well set the car on fire and claim on the insurance. Can we put that in?
And how much was the reg?
Yeah, that was surprisingly cheap, to be fair. There was loads which were really expensive, but I got that one, I don't know why, for 250 quid. The battery
Lol.
and refurb charger totals
250
£150,000.
quid.
So far that's lasted 10 years, so divided annually we need to allow an extra £13,000 to my
Oof.
running costs. Oh my god. So added up, my P1 yearly running costs is a ridiculous £47,000. So let's find out from the cheapest to the most expensive, which is the most costly hypercar to own per year. All of these cars are very expensive to run. After all, they are hypercars.
Bugatti is the
Everyone
most expensive.
Is the very
I can
best,
just
the
say it.
pinnacle of automotive engineering. And the most expensive, the absolute iconic Bugatti Veyron. One thing's for certain, it looks like I made a great decision on the McLaren P1. It's very far down this list, and arguably it's just as good as all the others. So I think I've done really well buying this amazing
Wait, was it
car.
the first car?
Battery and to my is a to the most all of these
Oh, it's a Senna.
arguably it's just as good as all the others. So I think
Damn.
I've done really well buying this amazing car.
Owning a
Hopefully,
Bugatti is crazy,
like we
huh?
said when we bought the car, hopefully
I
it's
woke
gonna
up
go
in
for
a
money.
new
There was one
Bugatti.
more cost on the P1 I hadn't considered. Is the diff on this car. Now, if I blew a diff, it's £40,000, which might well happen on the 14th of June at the Revved Up show at Santa Pod, because this is going up the drag strip. I'm going to be taking this car and Reese's new trick and these three others. Did it work?
I think you stood in front of it.
Go. Right, thank you for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday, 6 PM.
Damn. Crazy. Crazy high maintenance.